Everybody, welcome back to the show. Still don't know if I have a name for the channel yet. I got ideas. I'm going through ideas, so I might have something soon here. Anyway, and today we are reviewing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chapter 6, the journey from platform 9 3/4. Good chapter, and I am ready to jump into this one. And by the way, there might be a lot of noise, background noise from cars and stuff. Um, I'm at my job working, and I think there was a car show somewhere nearby, so it might be a lot of that. But who cares about that? We've got Harry Potter to talk about. So jumping into it, we last left Harry Potter, and he was making his way back home from this absolutely wonderful birthday experience, just absolutely wonderful. And now that we're back in this chapter, some time has passed, and it's been a few weeks, and Harry is finally stepping into the world of the wizards and witches. Um, he's stepping into the magical world, and he's stepping in it for good this time. Last chapter he stepped in it and he had to get right back out, but this chapter he's putting his foot in there and he is here to stay. So very exciting, very exciting. um we open up the chapter talking about the Dursleys, and it's an interesting situation because Harry is actually kind of, at ends with himself, not sure how he's feeling because the Dursleys are completely ignoring him now. They're just absolutely ignoring him. After that whole fiasco, they're treating him essentially like he does not exist at all. He's walking into rooms and he's not getting any eye contact from any of them. They're not speaking to him. They're not, getting him in trouble or accusing him of anything. He's not there really. And it's funny because this is something that you would think would be the greatest thing ever, because previously he was just getting tortured by the Dursleys for the most part, but now he's not even getting acknowledgement from them, as if he's not even real, as if he's not there, like he's a ghost or something. Um, the sad part about that is it really lets you know how crappy some of these people can be, because despite the fact that he's not getting, beaten up by Dudley and accused of wrongdoings by his aunt and uncle, it has him uh feeling bad. And that's pretty unfortunate, that the people who essentially, hate him the most and treat him the worst can still find new ways and new avenues to make him feel even more uncomfortable than he already did. Um, so that's a sad point right there. But we get out of that and we head over to platform 9 3/4. And the thing about that, and just keeping on the Dursleys and how absolute trash they are, they leave him. They drop him off at platform 9 3/4. First off, after making him feel like he's a big idiot, and pointing out that there is no platform 9 3/4, they leave him there. They leave him at the train station and drive off. That's what's said in the book. They drive off, and in that moment, that's not something to that you would really concern yourself with. But when you think about it, Harry ends up at that school for the whole term, the entire term, and it has no contact with the Dursleys. And so it's like these people really left this kid at this train station, and they had no clue what he was going to do. And they were pretty sure he was, just stuck there. And then when later that night comes and Harry doesn't show up back at your house, or you don't hear word from him or anything like that, the average person would, be a little worried about that. And we hear nothing about it, the whole book. And it's that's neglect. The amount of neglect. Oh my goodness, I am. You hate it for Harry, you know. That's very very unfortunate. Um, but yeah, small little tangent I wanted to say. Anyway, so we're at platform 9 3/4, and the Harry finds a way to finally get on there, and he meets the Weasleys, and absolute wonderful family. It was the conversation. I love the writing that J.K. Rowling did with all of the conversation. Um, between all of her children, and the children amongst themselves. It was so authentic. It was so natural. It was so caring and loving and fun and playful, and it really brought some good spirit to this chapter. Um, and they do that throughout the whole chapter. But that right there, just that first little introduction to them, really brought some good spirit, and let us know that there are good people and nice people in this world. Um, so I definitely enjoyed that. Um, we end up getting on the train, and and we're almost instantly introduced um, to Neville, and he's lost his toad again for the 100 millionth time probably. And it's funny because Neville's character is already shown right there, and we already know this about Neville. He's a wonderful character, very well developed from right here, from the first moment that we just barely hear something about Neville, and he's looking for his toad. But the last chapter, Hagrid even mentioned to Harry when he was trying to figure out what animal he was going to get him. He was like, yeah, or I could get you a toad. He was considering getting Harry a toad. And then he was like, oh no, but toads are out of fashion and you'd be the laughing stock. And here we find Neville with a toad. And we're going to find out, well, we find out pretty much immediately that he is a laughing stock. He's basically a joke character, at this point in time, at the very least. And so that's just good character development. She put that in, right at the beginning, and we get that several times. I think they mentioned that his toad was missing. Had to be one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 or 8, maybe even 9 times. And you would think that would be an overload, but it felt good. I liked it. I liked the way she did it. Um, so yeah, we meet Neville. We meet a lot of people in this chapter. I love it. We meet a lot of people in this chapter. Usually, when I'm presented with books and I want to say new stories, mind you, this one I've already heard a billion times, like you as well, probably. Um, but usually, when I have a new story and I get introduced to new characters, I like to be introduced a little bit slowly. I don't like to have 5, 6, 7, 8 characters thrown into my face because my memory doesn't work like that, and I'm immediately not going to remember any of these characters. But with the way she did it, it was pretty good. Even though there's twins. Um, we meet Ron, and we meet Percy, the prefect. We meet Ron's mom. Forget her name right now for some reason. I don't know if we actually saw her sister. Well, yeah, I think yeah, we met her sister, but not really. We didn't really meet her. We just heard her talk or something like that. They've all got this red hair. They all look the same, and then there's twins inside of that as well. So that would be for me something typically that I wouldn't like to read because I get that mixed up. I get those characters mixed up when I read that they all have red hair and they're all relatively close in age. Um, but it was done pretty well in this situation. Um, as well, like I said, we meet. Um, we meet. What was the guy's name? I just said his name. Um, Neville. Yeah, we meet Neville Longbottom. We also officially meet Draco Malfoy, even though we actually met him last chapter, but we get introduced to him this chapter, along with Crabbe and Goyle, Hermione, um, we meet a bunch of characters in this one chapter, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It lets us know just how many friends he could possibly have, because we don't really get any bad energy from any of the other characters. So I really like that. Another thing that I like to point out is Ron. When Ron and Harry meet, it's funny because the twins, I believe, were told to immediately told by their mom, "Hey, do not bring up this kid's past. Do not bring up any of this stuff about who must not be named." And I guess technically Ron wasn't told that, because the first thing Ron does is point out the scar or ask about the scar. And they kind of go into a little conversation about what happened that night. And Harry's like, "Oh, I don't even remember, I just remember some green light." And so I don't know if Ron got away with a loophole right there and he can feel good about it, or he just doesn't care at all that he disobeyed his mom's direct orders. But that was fun to see that that was the first thing that he did, that he brought up, that he talked about. What I love about their interactions so much is just how similar it was to Harry meeting Malfoy. And what I mean by this is Harry knows nothing about the wizarding world. Malfoy knows everything about the wizarding world. As well, Ron pretty much knows everything about the wizarding world. And so when Harry met both of these characters, he met them as individuals who were more learned, I guess, about this thing that he's only just now been introduced to, or who he's been speculating about. He only took a glimpse into the world. And these two characters have all this knowledge about it. But the great difference, the juxtaposition of it, is that um, when Draco speaks to Harry for the first time, it's it's not necessarily accusatory, but he really downplays anybody who doesn't know anything about magic, about the wizarding world. He even in the last chapter was like, "Oh, and some people uh, don't even know anything about magic when they get the letter from Hogwarts." And that was a direct punch to Harry himself, because he that was him. He didn't know anything about magic until he got that letter. Um, so that was, that automatically put Draco in the rear of Harry's mind, because how can you like somebody whose first thing they're saying to you is essentially insults? And Ron, on the other hand, Ron's first interaction was just curiosity and genuine interest. They even said it that the two boys were equally interested in one another, and that was really good. So, and Harry and Ron, when they spoke about a lot of the things that Draco was talking about, such as Quidditch, um, the Hogwarts houses. They were talking about the same stuff, but the feeling that Harry receives was a lot better with Ron. And I like this interaction a lot, because Harry is very intrigued. He has no clue what's going on, and he wants to know what's going on. He wants to learn. He wants to be informed, and that was something he didn't get from Hagrid, because he really wanted to know a lot about the world. A couple weeks ago when he met Hagrid and they went out, but Hagrid wasn't really giving him the information from the point of view that Harry could appreciate it the most. Hagrid was giving it to him kind of on the side. Not that he didn't care, but Hagrid, I guess he was just in a state of not understanding how to teach. which is interesting because, oh man, I just made that connection. Because he gets a position later on as a teacher, and it's pretty well understood that he doesn't know how to teach. But anyway, yeah, Harry wants this information from Hagrid in the last chapter, and Hagrid's like, "Oh yeah, this is da 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 da," and just brushes it off, moves on to the next subject. Kind of isn't really trying to help inform Harry and make sure he understands. Whereas Ron's interaction was a lot about helping Harry understand the wizarding world. Um, he understands that he's come from this background where he has no information, and he's trying to make sure that Harry is fully informed on whatever subject they're talking about. He goes in depth with Quidditch, and explains all of Quidditch, almost every single thing, all the players, all the teams, important games that have happened, the rules, all that stuff. Whereas, Malfoy, when they spoke about it, Malfoy, all he had to say was, "Do you play Quidditch? Do you know how to ride a broom?" And then he, chucked him to the side and went to the next subject or whatever. Um, so the interactions right here, it's so well done to let you know that Ron is the man. That is Harry's best friend already, and honestly, probably one of the only few friends, if any, that Harry has ever had. Because when you think about Harry and what we've learned so far in these 4 chapters, well, these 5 chapters previous, is that Harry probably didn't have any friends even at the schools he went to, because Dudley's gang, they beat up Harry and they made fun of Harry, and they kind of made him an outcast in the schools, to where people stayed away from Harry, for one, not to get beat up by Dudley, and two, because Dudley, as far as schooling and stuff goes, if you're not popular and the popular kids are picking on you, by you affiliating yourself with the unpopular kid, Harry, then now you become unpopular. So it's a lot of, little intricacies in just the friendship and the way these people are all communicating through with one another. And I really like the way that all of these communications were done. Very, very well done. Very good writing. Very smooth flowing. Um, Again, just more on the education that Ron was given to Harry. He told him everything about the candies and stuff. He was explaining the every flavor beans. He was also explaining about the cards and the chocolate toads. So good connection, good friendship right there, because that's what friendships are about. Actually being able to talk and communicate with one another. Um, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I had a friend. I had a friend right there in that moment. Um, and okay, so then we get introduced to a few more people. Of course, Hermione comes in. One thing that I really, really love about Hermione, and that makes sense, um, when we get to the end of the series, as to, spoiler alert, as to why Hermione did not uh choose Harry and why she ended up with Ron. I noticed that when she first met Harry right here, she's so far possibly the only person who was not starstruck when she met Harry. And I don't think I noticed that before. Because there was a little bit of intrigue, just in the sense of, are you really Harry Potter? Just kind of like everybody else. But that was it. And after that, it was, oh, well, let's talk about school. Let's talk about magic. Let's talk about fun, stuff like that. So that interaction was good. And it kind of showed me that from the jump, Hermione was not interested in Harry. Very interesting thing to discover. Um, so yeah, they're riding this train. They're going along. Malfoy, he pops up again, and introduces himself for real, and tries to play his card to get Harry on his team, you know, making alliances and connections and stuff like that. And what what got me was that after maybe one or two sentences, he immediately went into, don't end up like your dead parents. They weren't smart enough. Huh. Okay, so yeah, don't end up like your dead parents because they weren't smart enough. And it's like, dude, if you're trying to make alliances, that is not how you do it. I understand that you got yourself on this pedestal and you can get away with saying all sorts of stuff to your mom, to your dad, to your friends, to teachers, to anybody around you. But do you live under a rock, man? That's not how you do it. But that just goes to show his character. You know, he's not a good character. He's not a good guy. He is the enemy. Um, so yeah, that was a fun, interesting little interaction as well. Um, Again, throughout this whole time, Trevor's losing his toad still. Um, like I said, we met Crab and Goyle. One thing that I do want to note is that I do not know, and I'm not sure if there was a reason to why Peter Pettigrew bit Goyle's finger. And I never thought about it before, but when you look back at it, while they were on the train, Ron mentioned how much, how Ron mentioned how useless his rat was. He mentioned that it's just a big, dumb, lazy rat, and he's not good for anything. He's in the same, shape um as if he were to bring a toad to school or something, but possibly even worse because the rat does nothing whatsoever. So this is a big lazy rat, and he's also just been sleeping this whole time, or playing dead or whatever, in Harry and Ron's lap. But when Goyle goes to confront and steal some of their candy, some of their food, he the Scabbers leaps into action and protects Harry and Ron. And it's shocking. I'm not, because I'm just, I don't understand why. Um of course, knowing his character, it must have been to save his own skin somehow, but I guess I haven't figured out how he was saving his skin, what he was doing, because I can only assume that at that moment, Scabbers Peter saw Crab and Goyle and also heard Malfoy say their names and immediately connected that to Voldemort and knew that he was in the presence of the kids of Voldemort's men. And it's like, he jumped into action for a reason. So what was the reason? I'm not sure, but I love the chapter. It was a good chapter. Writing was phenomenal the whole way through. Very, very lively chapter. Full of more magic, more mysteries, all the different candies, the cards, the moving pictures. We were introduced to that. I gotta say, man, as a writer, I am just astounded by how much magic J.K. Rowling put into this series. Because if I were to write, a story about magic and stuff like that, I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, she thought of so many ways to incorporate magic into this. Even if it's just, there's different candies out there. There's different. There's regular candy, there's Muggle candy, and then there's magic candy. Even if the candy isn't doing magic itself, it's just different. It's more fun. It's more exciting. There's every single flavor bean. That's amazing. Um, the idea of moving the pictures that are actually moving, it's like, okay, well, we have TV and stuff, but uh, they managed to, when you think about the moving pictures are like TV, but they are not. What? How are you that creative to say I'm going to make TV in a different way? So absolutely astonishing. Um, Perfect writing, fun, enjoyable the whole way through. Very, very captivating. I enjoyed every moment of that chapter. This is just going to be a book full of good chapters. That's about all I can say about that. It's going to be a book on every chapter is going to be amazing. So get ready for that. Anyway, that's the review on chapter 6, guys. Thank you so much for checking out the channel, and be sure to check into the next episode. Thanks.